The room falls silent. Every eye turns to watch as the newcomer enters. They move with quiet confidence, smiling warmly at faces both familiar and unknown. Within minutes, they're engaged in conversation, leaving people laughing, nodding in agreement, leaning in to catch every word. By evening's end, business cards are exchanged, plans are made, and connections have formed that will last for years. You've seen it before. That person who seems to forge meaningful connections effortlessly. The one who remembers names, asks the right questions, and makes others feel valued. The natural connector who turns strangers into friends with apparent ease. And perhaps you've asked yourself, why not me? Why do social situations feel like navigating a labyrinth while others dance through them? Why does my heart race before a simple introduction when others leap into conversation without hesitation? The truth arrives with both relief and challenge. The ability to win friends and influence people isn't magic. It isn't a gift bestowed upon a chosen few at birth. It's a skill, perhaps the most valuable skill you will ever develop. And like any skill, it can be learned, practiced, and mastered. Even if your palms sweat at the thought of small talk, even if you've been called awkward your entire life, even if you're the person who rehearses conversations in your mind only to freeze when the moment arrives, even if you're the one who has always felt invisible in a crowded room, what I'm about to share with you changed the trajectory of millions of lives since Dale Carnegie first penned his revolutionary principles nearly a century ago. But make no mistake, this isn't just Carnegie's wisdom frozen in amber. These are his timeless insights, reimagined for our modern world of digital communication, remote work, shortened attention spans, and paradoxical loneliness amid constant connection. Today you begin a transformation, the journey from isolated to connected, from overlooked to influential, from anxious to confident, from being the person who dreads social interaction to becoming the person others are drawn to instinctively. The walls you've built around yourself weren't constructed in a day. Neither will their dismantling happen overnight. But brick by brick, conversation by conversation, connection by connection, your world is about to expand in ways you never imagined possible. Are you ready? Then let us begin. The fundamental truth about connection. Before we discuss techniques and approaches, we must first understand the psychological bedrock upon which all meaningful human connection is built. This foundation, unveiled by Carnegie decades ago, yet confirmed repeatedly by modern neuroscience, is simple yet profound. People are fundamentally interested in themselves. This isn't a criticism. It's human nature, the lens through which we all view the world. The person who understands this truth and works with human nature rather than against it already stands leagues ahead of those who remain oblivious. Consider this. When you meet someone new, what's typically running through your mind? For many, it's a stream of self-conscious thoughts. How do I look? What will they think of me? Am I making a good impression? Do I belong here? What should I say next? Now, consider the liberating truth. The person you're speaking with is likely consumed by identical thoughts about themselves. President Theodore Roosevelt understood this principle instinctively. Famous for his ability to connect with anyone, from ambassadors to stable hands, Roosevelt would prepare intensely before meeting someone new, not by rehearsing what he would say about himself, but by studying what might interest his conversation partner. When he spoke with you, you felt as though nothing in the world mattered more to him in that moment than understanding your perspectives, experiences, and ideas. The first step toward winning friends isn't developing a more captivating personality. It's developing a genuine interest in other people. When Mark Cuban was building his first company, Micro Solutions, he admitted to knowing little about the software he was selling. Yet his business thrived. How? I read every book and magazine. I could, Cuban said. customers enjoyed spending time with me because I worked hard to know their business and industry better than they did. Cuban wasn't the most technically knowledgeable, but he became the most interested, and therefore the most interesting. This principle transcends time and technology. Whether in Roosevelt's White House meetings or in today's Zoom calls, people respond to authentic interest. They sense when someone truly cares about their words versus when someone is simply waiting for their turn to speak. For the naturally shy person, this insight arrives as liberation. Social success doesn't require you to become the loudest voice in the room or develop a repertoire of clever anecdotes. It begins with something much simpler: cultivating sincere curiosity about others. Before any technique can work, this mindset shift must occur. The focus must transfer from how am I being perceived to what can I learn about this person before me. This isn't manipulation. It's connection in its purest form. It's the recognition that every individual carries within them a universe of experiences, insights, and perspectives waiting to be discovered. The socially magnetic individuals you've admired weren't born with some mysterious quality you lack. They've simply mastered the art of making others feel significant. And now, so will you. The power of authentic listening. Our age of distraction, nothing has become more rare or more valuable than undivided attention. Studies show the average person listens at only 25% efficiency, constantly interrupting others with their own thoughts, opinions, and experiences. This isn't listening. It's simply waiting to speak. Warren Buffett, whose investment wisdom has built empires, once said, "I just sit in my office and read all day." But what made Buffett exceptional wasn't just what he read, but how he listened to markets, to mentors, to the unspoken concerns behind spoken questions. His business partner, Charlie Munger, observed, "Warren's success comes from his deep receptivity and unusual patience. True listening, the kind that builds unbreakable bonds between people, is active, not passive. It's a full-body experience that communicates, 'In this moment, nothing matters more to me than understanding you.' For the socially anxious person, this presents a counterintuitive advantage. While others speak to impress, you can listen to connect. While others formulate their next story, you can be fully present. Your natural tendency toward thoughtfulness becomes your superpower. But how does one become an exceptional listener? By developing these specific habits. First, eliminate distractions completely. In person, this means putting away your phone. Not just silencing it, but removing it from sight. Research from Harvard shows that the mere presence of a phone on a table diminishes the perceived quality of conversation and reduces empathetic connection. Your full attention is the rarest gift you can offer another human being. Second, practice reflective listening. When someone shares something meaningful, respond with phrases that show you've truly heard them. "What I'm understanding is," or "It sounds like you felt." This isn't parroting. It's processing aloud to confirm understanding. Third, ask questions that go beyond the surface. Anyone can ask, "What do you do?" The exceptional connector asks, "What do you find most fulfilling about your work?" Or, "What drew you to that field initially?" These questions invite others to share not just facts, but feelings and values, the building blocks of authentic connection. Fourth, observe body language, both theirs and yours. Communication research suggests that up to 93% of emotional meaning comes through nonverbal cues. Maintain comfortable eye contact. Lean in slightly. Nod thoughtfully. These subtle signals say, "I'm with you more powerfully than words ever could." Fifth, resist the urge to relate everything back to yourself. When someone shares their experience of hiking in Colorado, the average listener immediately responds with their own hiking story. The exceptional listener stays in Colorado a while longer, exploring the vista through their conversation partner's eyes, before moving on. Abraham Lincoln, despite leading America through its darkest hour, was known for receiving visitors of all stations for hours each week. One observer noted that Lincoln listened more than he talked. Even when disagreeing with visitors' positions, Lincoln would first ensure they felt thoroughly understood. This wasn't just political strategy, it was human wisdom. People who feel heard become allies, even when opinions differ. For those who have always felt awkward in conversation, understanding that excellent listening skills can compensate for any perceived lack of charisma comes as a revelation. The truth is that most people don't need you to be fascinating, they need you to be fascinated by them. The poet Maya Angelou expressed this perfectly. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Nothing makes people feel more valued than being truly heard. Practice this skill deliberately. Start with people you're comfortable around. Set an internal challenge to learn 3 new things about them in each conversation. Then expand to acquaintances, colleagues, strangers. Watch as doors begin to open, not because you become more extroverted, but because you become more attentive. In a world of broadcasters, be a receiver. In a culture of talkers, be a listener. Your quietness isn't a liability. Properly channeled, it's your greatest asset in building connections that last. The name that changes everything. A person's name is the sweetest sound they can hear. It's the one word that has accompanied them through every triumph and tragedy, every celebration and setback. It's been whispered by those who love them and called out by those who need them. Their name isn't just a label, it's the soundtrack of their existence. And yet, how easily we dismiss its importance. I'm terrible with names, people confess, as if this were an immutable characteristic rather than a habit of inattention. The truth is stark but liberating. Remembering names isn't a talent, it's a decision. It's choosing to assign importance to the central feature of someone's identity. Franklin Roosevelt built a political dynasty partly on his legendary ability to recall names and personal details. During his presidency, he could greet White House groundskeepers by name and inquire about a specific family members mentioned in conversations months earlier. This wasn't genetic good fortune. It was deliberate practice. Roosevelt understood that remembered names build empires of goodwill. For the socially anxious person, name recall presents both challenge and opportunity. The challenge lies in overcoming the anxiety that floods the mind during introductions, often washing away the other person's name before it's even processed. The opportunity comes in developing systems that compensate for this tendency. Begin with full attention during introductions. When someone says, "Hi, I'm Jessica," don't allow your mind to race ahead to what you'll say next. Pause. Look at them. Mentally repeat, "Jessica." Then use it immediately. "It's great to meet you, Jessica. I'm your name." Next, create associations. Jessica with the journalist job. Jessica with the jade earrings. Jessica from Jacksonville. The more vivid and even unusual the association, the better it will stick. This isn't mysterious memory magic. It's basic cognitive science. Our brains retain information that's connected to images and existing knowledge. Third, use the person's name naturally throughout your conversation. Not excessively, that feels artificial, but strategically. "That's fascinating, Jessica. What led you to that conclusion?" Each use reinforces the neural pathway connecting face to name. Finally, make a point to use their name when saying goodbye. "Jessica, it was a pleasure talking with you." This creates a bookend effect, increasing the likelihood you'll remember the name during your next encounter. Andrew Carnegie, no relation to Dale, rose from impoverished immigrant to the world's richest man, building a steel empire and philanthropic legacy that endures today. When asked about his success principle, Carnegie didn't cite business strategy, but human connection. The ability to deal with people is as purchasable a commodity as sugar or coffee, he said, and I will pay more for that ability than for any other under the sun. Carnegie made a practice of knowing not just his managers' names, but those of thousands of workers across his operations. During factory visits, he greeted men by name at their stations, asked about their families, remembered their concerns from previous conversations. These weren't empty gestures. They were deposits in the bank of human connection that paid dividends in loyalty and effort impossible to buy with wages alone. In today's hybrid work environments, this skill becomes even more crucial. When your presence is often reduced to a name on a screen or a voice on a call, being the person who remembers and uses others' names becomes a professional superpower. It silently communicates, "You matter to me as an individual, not just as a function." For those who've always struggled with names, take heart. Like any skill, this one improves with deliberate practice. Start small. Challenge yourself to learn and retain the names of 3 new people this week. Then 5 next week. Build gradually. Keep track of your progress. Celebrate improvements. Remember, every time you use someone's name when others have forgotten it, you distinguish yourself. Every time you make the effort to properly pronounce a difficult name rather than avoiding it, you signal respect in a world often careless with such details. Your journey from socially anxious to confidently connected will be built on such seemingly small choices, consistently made. And few choices demonstrate your commitment to authentic connection more clearly than making the effort to remember and use the sweetest sound another person can hear, their own name. The art of conversation that captivates. The greatest misconception about brilliant conversation is that it emerges from having fascinating things to say. The opposite is true. Captivating conversation isn't about impressive pronouncements. It's about asking the right questions with genuine curiosity. Consider how children naturally connect. They ask why with insatiable curiosity. They follow threads of interest without self-consciousness. They haven't yet learned to filter their fascination with the world and others. This childlike questioning, refined with adult discernment, is the foundation of conversation that creates lasting bonds. For the naturally shy person, this principle arrives as revelation. The pressure to be interesting dissolves when you focus instead on being interested. The anxiety about having enough to say vanishes when you realize your primary role is to discover what others long to express. Larry King, who conducted over 50,000 interviews across his broadcasting career, attributed his success to a simple approach. "I never learned anything while I was talking." King's questions were rarely complex, but they were always genuine. He approached each conversation with what Zen practitioners call beginner's mind, empty of assumptions, full of curiosity. How? Do you develop this art? Begin by preparing mentally before social situations. Rather than rehearsing your own talking points, develop a repertoire of thoughtful questions that invite others to share meaningfully. Beyond the standard, what do you do? Consider questions like, what's been keeping you excited lately? What drew you to your field of work originally? What's something you've changed your mind about in the past year? What would constitute a perfect day for you? These questions work because they invite reflection rather than recitation. They signal that you're interested in the person, not just their data. When responses come, practice what psychologists call active constructive responding, engaging enthusiastically with good news and empathetically with challenges. When someone mentions a recent accomplishment, don't just nod. Lean in with, "That's fascinating. How did you approach that challenge?" When they share a struggle, don't rush to solve it. Acknowledge it. "That sounds incredibly difficult. How have you been managing?" The investor and author Naval Ravikant observes that the closer you get to the truth, the more silent you become inside. The best conversations create this internal silence, moments when you're so engaged with another's perspective that your own mental chatter quiets. For those who find small talk painful, here's liberating news. You can often bypass it entirely. While others exchange weather observations, you can politely steer towards substance with transition questions like, "I'm curious, what's been the highlight of your work this month?" Most people are relieved to move beyond superficiality. Notice that excellent conversationalists rarely interrogate. They balance questions with observations, reflections, and judicious sharing of their own experiences when relevant. They create conversation that resembles tennis, a pleasurable rally, rather than an interview or a monologue. Eleanor Roosevelt, though naturally shy and insecure in her early years, developed such remarkable conversation skills that diplomats and world leaders sought her company. Her secret wasn't eloquence, but attention. To handle yourself, use your head, she advised. To handle others, use your heart. She made people feel that their thoughts mattered, not as mere courtesy, but because she genuinely believed they did. In our digital age, these skills transfer seamlessly to virtual environments where connection often feels more difficult. On video calls, practice the same focused attention. In text exchanges, ask questions that can't be answered with a single word. In all formats, demonstrate that you've truly processed what others have shared before, advancing the conversation. The socially anxious often fear awkward silences. Yet comfortable silence is actually a mark of connection, not its absence. When a pause arrives naturally in conversation, resist the urge to fill it immediately. Some of the most meaningful exchanges happen after a thoughtful silence, when people share what they really think, not just what comes to mind first. As your conversation skills develop, you'll notice something remarkable. People begin describing you as easy to talk to and even charismatic, not because you've developed extraordinary wit, but because you've given them the extraordinary experience of feeling heard, valued, and understood. The principle of genuine appreciation. Human beings hunger for appreciation, like plants crave sunlight. This need runs so deep that William James, the father of American psychology, observed, "The deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated, not praised emptily, not flattered manipulatively, but genuinely appreciated for our contributions and qualities." Yet in our rushed modern lives, expressions of specific appreciation have become increasingly rare. We double-tap photos and leave heart emojis, but how often do we take the time to name exactly what we value about another person? How frequently do we express particular gratitude for how they've impacted our lives? Understanding this principle transforms how you connect with others. It shifts your focus from "how am I coming?" across to "what genuine value do I see in this person that they might not fully recognize in themselves?" Charles Schwab built a financial empire, not primarily through investment genius, but through human connection. "I consider my ability to arouse enthusiasm among my people," Schwab said, "the greatest asset I possess, and the way to develop the best that is in a person is by appreciation and encouragement." Schwab's approach wasn't superficial. When walking through his steel mills, he would stop to compliment specific work he observed. Not general comments like "good job," but precise observations. "I noticed how you adjusted that machinery to reduce Waste. That kind of attention to detail makes a real difference. This specificity is what separates meaningful appreciation from empty flattery. For those who struggle with social confidence, learning to express genuine appreciation creates a bridge to connection. It moves the focus from your own discomfort to the other person's value. It replaces anxiety about impression management with the simpler task of observation and honest expression. Begin practicing with those closest to you. What specific qualities do you appreciate in your friends, family members, or colleagues that you've never explicitly named? Perhaps your friend's ability to find humor in difficult situations, your partner's patience when listening to others, your colleague's thoroughness in analyzing problems. Express these observations simply and specifically. I've always admired how you maintain your calm when projects get chaotic. It steadies the whole team. Or, I appreciate how you remember details about people's lives. It makes everyone feel valued. The key is specificity. Vague compliments like, "You're awesome," carry little weight. Precise appreciation. "I noticed how you made sure everyone had a chance to share their perspective in today's meeting," lands with impact because it demonstrates genuine attention. Mary Kay Ash built her cosmetics business into a billion-dollar enterprise on the principle of appreciation. She famously said, "Everyone has an invisible sign hanging from their neck saying, 'Make me feel important.'" Ash structured her entire company around recognizing specific achievements that other organizations might overlook. The result? Unprecedented loyalty and engagement. In professional settings, this principle becomes a career accelerator. The person who notices and names colleagues' contributions, not to curry favor, but from genuine recognition, becomes invaluable. In a world where many feel their efforts go unseen, being the one who truly sees others creates a network of allies difficult to replicate through any other means. The digital age offers both challenges and opportunities for appreciation. Text lacks the warmth of voice and expression, making written appreciation even more dependent on specificity and timing. A message that says, "I've been reflecting on our last project, and I particularly valued how you specific contribution." It made a real difference because specific impact can transform a professional relationship. For the socially anxious person, expressing appreciation offers another advantage. It's difficult to do incorrectly. When offered with sincerity and specificity, appreciation is almost always received positively, even if delivered somewhat awkwardly. This makes it an ideal starting point for building connection skills. Begin today. Identify 3 people whose specific qualities or contributions you genuinely appreciate but have never fully expressed. Reach out to them by conversation, phone call, or thoughtful message. Be specific. Be sincere. Notice how this practice not only brightens their day, but shifts something in your own approach to connection. Remember, in a world quick to criticize and slow to praise, meaningful appreciation isn't just a social skill. It's a revolutionary act. It sees the best in others and helps that best grow stronger through recognition. As a bonus, research consistently shows that expressing appreciation increases the happiness and well-being of both recipient and giver. The courage to be vulnerable. Perhaps the most counterintuitive truth about human connection is this: perfection doesn't draw people closer. Vulnerability does. We are not attracted to flawlessness in others. We're drawn to authenticity, the courage to be real, with all the beautiful imperfections that entails. For those who struggle with social anxiety, this principle offers profound liberation. The exhausting effort to present an impeccable image. 2. Hide every insecurity, to know the right answer to every question, to never reveal uncertainty, can finally be abandoned. In its place grows something much more powerful, the strength to be seen as you actually are. Brené Brown, whose research on vulnerability has transformed our understanding of connection, puts it this way: vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. Not weakness, as many fear, but the foundation of everything meaningful in human relationships. Consider how this plays out in real interactions. When someone presents themselves as having everything figured out, we may respect them, but we rarely feel close to them. Their perfection creates distance, but when someone shares an authentic struggle, admits uncertainty, or acknowledges a mistake, something remarkable happens. We lean in. We recognize our own humanity in theirs. Connection deepens. Howard Schultz built Starbucks into a global phenomenon by understanding this principle. During the company's most challenging period in 2008, Schultz gathered together thousands of store managers and did something rare for a CEO. He admitted vulnerability. "We made mistakes," he told them. Voice-breaking. "I made mistakes." This authentic moment of leadership vulnerability didn't diminish his standing. It cemented the loyalty that would help rebuild the company. For the naturally shy or socially anxious person, calculated vulnerability offers a path to connection that bypasses the need for extroverted performance. Rather than trying to impress others with accomplishments or wit, you can connect through honesty about your experiences, both triumphs and challenges. This might look like acknowledging when you don't know something instead of pretending expertise. It might mean sharing a relevant personal struggle when appropriate. It could involve asking for help or guidance rather than maintaining the illusion of complete self-sufficiency. Vulnerability doesn't mean oversharing or emotional carelessness. It means strategic authenticity, opening up in ways that invite genuine connection rather than create discomfort. The Japanese art of kintsugi illuminates this principle beautifully. Rather than hiding the cracks in broken pottery, kintsugi artisans repair them with gold, highlighting rather than concealing the damage. The result isn't just repaired pottery, but a more valuable, uniquely beautiful object, whose history of being broken and mended becomes its most distinctive feature. Your moments of authentic vulnerability, appropriately shared, function like that gold. They don't diminish your value in others' eyes. They transform ordinary interaction into meaningful connection. Richard Branson, despite building the Virgin Empire and projecting confidence across hundreds of business ventures, regularly discusses his dyslexia and the academic struggles it caused him. Rather than hiding this vulnerability, he credits it with developing his delegation skills and different way of processing information. His openness about struggles alongside successes makes him relatable despite his extraordinary achievements. In professional settings, appropriate vulnerability might include phrases like, "I'm still developing my understanding of this area. I'd appreciate your insights." Or, "That project taught me some valuable lessons about what not to do next time." Such statements don't undermine your competence. They demonstrate emotional intelligence and learning orientation. In personal relationships, vulnerability creates the conditions for depth. Statements like, "I felt hesitant about joining this event today because I sometimes find large gatherings challenging," can transform from what feels like a shameful admission into a bridge of connection with others who immediately relate to the experience. Begin practicing strategic vulnerability in lower stakes situations. Share a relevant challenge with a trusted colleague. Admit when you don't know something in a meeting rather than bluffing. Ask for help when you genuinely need it. Notice how these moments, rather than diminishing you, often create the most meaningful connections. For thousands of years across cultures, humans have gathered around fires to share stories, not just of conquests and victories, but of struggles, mistakes, and lessons learned. Something in us recognizes that a perfect story teaches little. It's the vulnerable moments of challenge and growth that contain wisdom worth sharing. Your journey from social anxiety to authentic connection doesn't require you to become someone else, someone louder, more polished, or perpetually confident. It invites you to become more fully yourself, with the courage to let others see not just your strengths, but the beautiful complexity of your entire humanity. The way forward. Your roadmap to connection as we draw our exploration to a close. Let's integrate these principles into a practical roadmap, concrete steps you can take, beginning today to transform your approach to connection, even if you've always considered yourself shy or awkward. The journey begins not with grand gestures, but small, consistent actions taken with conviction and purpose. Dale Carnegie understood this when he wrote, "Don't be afraid of enemies who attack you. Be afraid of the friends who flatter you." Real transformation requires honest assessment, followed by deliberate practice. First, select one principle that resonated most deeply with you. Perhaps it was becoming genuinely interested in others, or the practice of remembering names, or the art of appreciation. Begin there, with focused attention on a single approach, rather than attempting comprehensive change overnight. Set a specific implementation goal. Rather than the vague, "I'll try to be more interested in others," commit to, "I will ask 3 thoughtful questions and practice active listening in my next conversation with a colleague." Specificity breeds accountability. Then, create opportunities for practice. If you've always avoided social situations, don't begin with a networking conference of 500 people. Start with a coffee meeting, a small dinner, or even a one-on-one video call. Choose environments where you can concentrate on applying your chosen principle without overwhelming yourself. Document your experiences. In a private journal, record what worked, what didn't, how you felt, and what you observed. This reflection accelerates learning and helps you recognize patterns. You'll likely notice that discomfort doesn't disappear immediately, but it does become more manageable with each interaction. Gradually expand your practice to new contexts and additional principles. The shy person who masters remembering names with family and friends can bring that skill to professional settings. The socially anxious individual who learns to express genuine appreciation in low-pressure environments can apply that same approach in more challenging situations. Throughout this process, remember that setbacks aren't failures. They're feedback. Thomas Edison famously said of his thousands of unsuccessful attempts to develop the light bulb, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Each awkward moment, each conversation that doesn't flow as hoped, provides valuable data for refinement. Henry Ford, who revolutionized manufacturing but struggled with public speaking early in his career, observed, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." Your belief about your capacity for connection becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Choose to believe in your ability to grow, even when evidence seems contrary. The path to social confidence follows a predictable pattern. First comes conscious incompetence, the awkward awareness of what you're doing wrong. Then comes conscious competence, doing the right things with deliberate effort. Finally arrives unconscious competence, connecting effectively without conscious thought. Trust this progression. Everyone who now seems naturally charismatic once stood where you stand. As you develop these skills, you'll discover something remarkable. The very sensitivity and thoughtfulness that may have contributed to your social anxiety becomes strengths in genuine connection. Your attention to subtle cues, your empathy for others' discomfort, your careful consideration before speaking, these qualities, properly channeled, create deeper bonds than superficial charm ever could. Walt Disney, rejected by numerous employers and investors before building his empire, insisted, "All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them." Your dream of comfortable, meaningful connection of winning friends and influencing people despite natural shyness is entirely within reach with consistent practice and the courage to begin. The transformation you seek doesn't require you to become someone else. It asks only that you become more intentionally yourself, more present, more curious, more appreciative of others, more willing to connect authentically. The person who can do this becomes invaluable in any context, from boardrooms to birthday parties, from job interviews to family gatherings. Eleanor Roosevelt, once painfully shy, became one of history's great connectors by following the principle. She famously articulated, "Do one thing every day that scares you." For you, that one thing might be initiating a conversation, sharing an authentic struggle, or expressing appreciation to someone you admire from afar. Begin today. Choose your first principle. Set your specific practice goal. Create your opportunity. Take that step, however small it feels. Then another. Then another. The world needs more people who connect with depth and authenticity. It needs your unique perspective, your particular strengths, your special capacity for understanding others. It needs the contributions that only become possible when you move beyond the limitations of social anxiety into the expansive possibility of meaningful connection. You stand at the threshold of transformation. The principles are proven. The path is clear. The only remaining question is, will you take that first step? The answer, I believe, is yes. And with that yes, everything changes.